Our laws as it pertains to substances are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want to help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say. And hopefully I can say it right now. Thank you all for joining us. Everything's sound right here. I see the restream going. I'm watching you all in the chat there. And of course, our clubhouse room is filling up where I will be taking your calls. Today is really just about your calls, your questions, conversation, the kinds of things I'm interested in talking about. For instance, would be the whole controversy around Joe Rogan and Neil Young. Is that not Neil Young? Is that his name? A musician who considers himself more relevant than Joe. But interesting kind of little conflict. Also, there was yet another one I was interested in talking about. Give me
It's probably a good time to buy Spotify stock while it's in the dip.
It might be. Neil Young, right. Joe Exotica had his sentence decreased to 21 months from 22 months. Well done. 21 years, rather, from 22 years.
Oh.
Good. Well done, Joe Exotica. I was hoping for
Joe
more.
Exotic.
Yeah, I was hoping for more. I mean, I still don't.
Exotica.
They don't seem to be buying his defense that this was all a big conspiracy against him. But it's weird. I mean, having talked to his attorney, he seemed like he had an awful lot of evidence. I don't know why I guess they haven't heard the evidence. Really, is what's going on. But again, on Clubhouse, if you agree to come up here, you'll be streaming out on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, multiple platforms, Facebook. But I noticed my daughter Paulina stepped into the podium here. Whoops, I just moved you to the audience as opposed to inviting you to speak. There we go. Paulina, I'm wondering if you're wanting to share your tale of woe.
I just wanted to hear your voice.
Okay, well, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Everything turning out okay?
I'm currently sitting in a 24-hour vet in Manhattan.
In the snow?
In the snow, impending snowstorm.
Yeah.
Got in last night. This morning I found my cat basically unresponsive in a closet, and it's sort of been a hell trip since there. But I'm just grateful that I'm here and that I was able to find him in time. And
yeah, I think it's going to be okay. I mean, he sounded pretty sick, but I just they weren't really talking about things that were that dangerous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bladder obstruction, mucus plug, bladder distension, urinary infection, all this kind of stuff.
Yummy.
All treatable stuff. So that's good. That's good. How does he seem?
He's pretty high right now, so he's having a good time.
All right,
he's
good.
Fine.
All right, good. He seems in no distress anyway.
Yeah.
All right, we'll all say our prayers for Jack. And
yes, please, Jack Birdpinsky.
And
he's a beautiful, romantic tuxedo cat who just wants to be loved.
Why don't you send Mom a picture and she can send it to Caleb, but he can throw it up there at some point so people can see what
I will.
You're trying to rescue here. And I think it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine, but it's quite an ordeal.
Keep us posted.
Okay?
I will take prayers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll put you.
Love you.
Love you too. I'll put you back in the
Love
audience.
You more.
Okay. So there's so much stuff going on right now. You know, I have been watching carefully. I cannot tell you strongly enough, if you want to keep abreast of really what's going on with COVID, follow Monica Gandhi, follow Vinay Prasad. Dr. Nock is always good on the virology front, but really Vinay Prasad has been on fire lately. He in particular was highlighting recently this reporter, Leonhardt is his name. I don't know what his first name is. I'll look it up for you. David Leonhardt, who was just sort of giving objective information at the New York Times, trying to navigate COVID, obviously. And I have come to understand something specific. Susan, riddle me this. Okay, you ready? Susan?
I'm ready.
Do you know what cognitive biases are? Do you know what cognitive distortions are? Do you understand that our thinking systems don't work quite
based
right?
on how we're raised?
No, they're actually glitches in our hardware. We don't think as well, as logically, as clearly as we think we do. We have biases of all kinds, and we distort in all kinds of ways without our awareness. Okay,
I probably do.
Oh, And so I'll testify.
Thanks, honey, for bringing that
but
up.
I have it too. So one of the things that COVID taught me is some of my own biases. I started seeing them a little more clearly. I looked very carefully, tried to figure out what it was. And there's something called a pessimism bias and an optimism bias. I'm wondering if you know which one I have.
Pessimism.
Yeah, I thought you'd say that. I don't. I actually have an optimism bias.
I think I have an optimism.
You have a very optimism bias too. But it turns out, like, if you remember, I kept saying at the beginning of this pandemic, I would say, like, it's going to be all right. We're going to figure this out. The medical system's going to figure it out. That's all optimism bias. I didn't know that. There's no evidence of that. It was based on my experience working in the medical system. I just really felt it was probable. I also could see the
you believe in science.
But I believed in my peers and the system I came from, and I just knew how it worked, and I could see the panic on one side, and I didn't see much representation of people going, "It's going to be okay," and I know that in medicine I sometimes have a little optimism bias too. I will, and I don't think that's harmful to make people feel reassured and hopeful. I think that's a good thing in terms of approaching difficult medical problems, like a pandemic. But it's a bias. It is a bias. And I talked to a cognitive psychologist by the name of Gleb Tsibursky, Tsipurbsky.
When?
For another podcast, for Dr. Drew
Dr. Drew podcast.
I don't know when that's coming out, but it was a very interesting conversation. It affected me greatly because he was saying that we have to learn to be empathic because people with a pessimism bias are angered by people with an optimism bias, and people with an optimism bias are angered by people with a pessimism bias. Does that sound familiar, Susan?
Yes.
Well, like whenever I get pessimistic, you get kind of angry because you have a higher
optimism
that's
true.
Bias. Yeah,
that's true.
You have a higher optimism bias, and I
don't have that right now.
You have a pessimism.
I was having a shitty day with Paul. I feel bad.
but stay with me on this.
I'm
reasoning.
Optimistic about the cat, though.
Stay with me. And so what he was saying to me is, like, it's really important for us to get our shit together by having a little bit of empathy for each other through the prism of these biases. In other words, I, as somebody who's very irritated by pessimism bias, need to realize that people with a pessimism bias are interested in helping people. They're fear avoidant. They're really fearful of people dying. They really don't want people to die. And they want to control things to make that not happen. Now, obviously, I feel like that pessimism bias makes them not have adequate risk-reward analysis of what they're doing when they allow their fear to step in and they control everything. They shut down schools. They needlessly do things that we don't need to do, and they destroy economies, and at-risk people get very harmed by this. Yeah, you're more likely to save some people with risk avoidance, and then you're more likely to hurt them with some of your interventions. And that balance has got to be gotten right. Now, I have an optimism bias. So from the beginning, I was saying, relax, it's going to be okay. Well, the pessimists get angry with that. And strangely enough, the pessimism side has to destroy the optimism side. It can't, it's dangerous. It's scary. While the optimism side just kind of gets irritated with the pessimism side. But by the same token, we can be empathic to one another. I can start to say, okay, I can look at the good of the pessimism bias, which is they really do want to help. And by the way, this was the other thing he told me, was that people in public health tend to have pessimism bias. That's why they go into public health. And that already is a problem. That's a problem. You can bet on it. Does that sound familiar, Susan? You're leaning in.
Yes.
You want to say something? Okay. So
I'm sending a picture of the cat to Caleb.
Very important.
Which you asked me to do.
Which I did ask you to do. So let me bring up, let's start the conversation just there. And bring, what's that?
Sorry, I'm not being helpful.
Let's bring Eric up for a minute. And Eric, you get what I'm talking about here in terms of these cognitive biases?
Yeah, I was thinking in that conversation, what do you think the role of motivated reasoning is? Because to me, it seems like there's a whole other layer of something
Well,
operating behind the optimism bias, pessimism bias.
Let's talk about it. Well, there are many different cognitive distortions, right? And so many other ones are operating, and some people not in others, and for sure. So oh my goodness, your kids are with you. It's great.
Oh yeah.
And so let's talk about motivated reasoning. Okay, motivated reasoning, I thought from the beginning was one of the more serious problems we had, because people were so interested in being right, which again was part of the problem. They needed to be right. Yeah. That they were motivated to distort rather than being truly objective. Is that the kind of motivation?
Is that what's driving the pessimism bias, say? The motivation to no, this is it. And the double down effect people seem to have around that.
Say it again. I didn't quite catch it.
Oh, is that motivated reasoning what's driving the pessimism bias, and just that impulse to want to, you're met with information that counters you. Well, I'm going to double down even harder, and I'm going to lock down even harder. I'm going to do whatever despite because that motivation is so strong.
Great question. That's a great way to frame it. So I kind of think that optimism, pessimism is a very, very, very kind of fundamental cognitive point of view, cognitive bias, right? And so motivated reasoning is sort of up the food chain a little further. And so because I'm fearful of anybody with an optimism bias, I might be fearful of optimistic information because I'm fearful of the optimism people taking that information and threatening my control and my fear. So I got to control even more. So it makes kind of sense, doesn't it? Even though it's awful, it's truly awful. It's not good judgment. It's not good practice. But it makes sense. So I'm trying to be empathic, Eric. I'm trying to create empathy for people who behave this way, rather than frustration and anger, which I've been feeling for a long time.
It's because I mean, you can see instances where the pessimism bias would be to an advantage. It's just I don't believe that is the current circumstance we're in. But
hang on,
each bias has its place.
Correct. And let me explain that to what Eric means too. So let's go back to the environment of evolutionary adaptiveness. Let's go back to the cave. And in the cave, you needed a certain number of people that went, hey, I can go out and kill that saber-toothed tiger, and I'm not going to get killed. I'm going to get that saber-toothed tiger. That is an optimism bias. That is because then people with a pessimism bias go, I'm going to hang out by the fire here and take care of the kids. You go get the saber-toothed tiger, but I'm hanging out here. Mm-hmm. Both are needed. Both are necessary for the evolution of the species. But in the current circumstance, all we're asking is, A, can I be more empathic to people with a different bias than my own? Yes. And B, do our biases significantly impair our judgment? Yes. For me, I would say I have to be very careful of optimism bias. I'm, for instance, I could very easily go to, hey, it's over. Let's go. It's over. Omicron, let's go. But I know that this virus could still throw us a curveball. So I try to temper my optimism bias. I would ask people with a pessimism bias to do the same, because that's how you get towards the truth. That's how you get towards better judgment. That's how you don't hurt people with your interventions or with your negligence, with not doing something. It's the same. Does that make sense?
Do you think the optimism bias or pessimism bias is part of a personality trait?
I don't.
Construct?
I don't. Well, I'm sure it figures in maybe to, but it's not, I see it as independent of personality. Maybe, I mean, what is it? So maybe it's associated with warmth and openness, right? It might be associated with that kind of stuff. So maybe that helps create those personality characteristics. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Well,
because I could see for a lot of reasons people might be predisposed to one or another side of those biases, and then the motivated reasoning can potentially, like, not supercharge it, but it fuels whatever the energy behind that might be.
Well, let me put it this way. I was explaining to Adam Carolla just this morning this theory, and we got into a little bit, and he kind of went with me, and finally he just goes, it's all narcissism. It's all narcissism. That's why you have the motivated reasoning. That's why you can't be wrong. That's why you're angry at other people and you project. It's all narcissism. And I thought, well, he's got a point. He's got a point, because narcissism is a major operating system in all of this, both in terms of seeing what is disavowed in yourself in other people. It's also being envious and having to destroy other people. It's also being non-empathic. Narcissists have trouble being empathic, and maybe some of the dysregulation. And there we go. And now it's kind of on. So it's interesting contrast.
Well, what jumped out to me too, as you're saying that, it kind of points to the void in leadership around this, because you could really see, like when we were talking about the importance of people in both roles, the need for people on each side of that bias spectrum, like having effective leadership that can kind of bring that together and help harness the positive parts of each side of that would really be nice.
Well, let's make that more explicit, because you're making a really important point, which is, wouldn't good leadership be somebody to somehow communicate exactly what you and I are talking about right now? So people could start to stop and listen.
We need some people on the optimism bias side to be able to show us the way out and highlight some of these things and help people feel safe and secure, the things that you talked about you're naturally kind of bent towards and good at. And then people who are also going to help us be cautious, and here's where we need to where we need to make sure we take care of things and we don't get reckless about that.
Right.
And understand kind of the importance of the balance between the two, and how one doesn't have to be the enemy of the other.
Yeah, I would love input from Clubhouse or Restream. How do you get that information across? Freaking Aristotle talked about this. He was talking about the golden mean, the difference between heedlessness and cowardliness, or whatever. There's got to be a golden mean, and we should be none of us can get there. The golden mean is like absolute zero. You don't ever get there, but we should be striving for it. And the idea that one is good and one is bad. See, the problem right now for me, Eric, is we have put value judgments on optimism and pessimism. And pessimism is good. Optimism is bad. And that is disgusting and weird.
Because anytime you go too far towards one side on an individual or societal level, for that matter, like you're gonna vacate the need for people with the optimism bias or pessimism bias.
Exactly. It's to say, hey, maybe right now your pessimism bias causes you to see some things I don't see, or it's kind of irritating me right now because you seem to be going too far. But I'm just who said something like this. I don't know how you guys feel about him, but I was at a conference that Arnold Schwarzenegger put on. All the former governors of California were there, but I was with Ben Carson, who I got kind of friendly with, because he was trying to help. I was trying to help him solve the homeless problem. He's a neurosurgeon. He's a brilliant guy. He's a great guy, and he's a nice guy. And he gave a talk that day, and he said, "Look, in order for the Republican eagle, meaning the eagle of the Republic, to fly, it needs a right wing and a left wing in order to fly." And I thought that was such a great analogy, that we shouldn't be like tearing off the left wing or tearing off the right wing. It makes no sense. It's the checks and balances that was brilliantly put in place 200 years ago.
Right. Well, and I think about like when I'm working with people, and sometimes it's just helping point out someone's strengths and weaknesses and help bring self-awareness. You do this really well in your relationships. Here's probably a blind spot for you. Here's where you're going to be very effective. Here's where you're not. And here's where maybe you want to bring in some other people to help fill in some of those gaps.
I'll tell you what. Well, let me tell you something. One of the biggest, and you can maybe help me with this. The biggest blind spots I have is I don't get as upset as so many people get about some of the things that have been going on in politics these days. And I keep thinking, why doesn't that upset me so much? I don't like certain stuff. I don't like it. It irritates me. I wish they wouldn't do that. I wish Trump wouldn't tweet like that. But I don't get torn apart by it. I don't get nutty by it. What do we think that is? That something was activated in our society that just makes us, I use the word exorcise, like we're having an exorcism. We can't stand it, whatever it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I have that same thing. I know a lot of people on both sides of the spectrum who it's one thing just drives them crazy, and it's easy for me to just go, yeah, that's crazy. I don't pay much attention to it.
Yeah, they're right. Me too. I just go, it's crazy. I don't like it, but I'm not.
I wish you wouldn't do that, or I wish they wouldn't go to that extreme or that excess. Yeah. But I think for me, I struggle with, I think I tend to be a little bit more agreeable. So as a result, like when maybe it is going overboard and I don't know, and I've kind of missed the boat, and maybe we need to be more riled up about that.
Well, so your point is, okay. So much like we're looking at our optimism biases, there are certain character or personality characteristics. Is personality your thing? Is that your main? Did you study it at large at one point, or?
No, I've been paying more attention to it recently, just reading stuff. So it's more of a recent thing.
And so Eric used the word agreeableness, and agreeableness is a personality characteristic. Women tend to be more agreeable than men.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard me talk about that phenomenon of women taking responsibility for things unjustly, excessively, to their own detriment. But agreeableness, codependency is another kind of agreeableness, right? Except being nice is agreeable. There's all kinds of versions of agreeable out there. And maybe that's it, Eric. Maybe we.
Oh, what was that?
What do you break?
My 1-year-old's dropping his water bottle.
Yeah.
Susan, mom,
not agreeing.
Mom ears came in. So, well, listen, Eric, thank you. It's if you think of more stuff, please come around.
It's great conversation. I just gets my mind going. Love it. So, thanks.
Well, it's also we're trying to work towards solution using psychology, and then looking at ourselves at very least, looking what's the word I've been looking for, with rigorous honesty at ourselves.
Yeah.
Is at least a model for what everyone needs to do right now.
Yeah.
So we can at least model that behavior.
Trying to figure out how to model that, and then once you kind of put your finger on something, how to communicate that effectively.
That's what I was asking the group if they can help me with.
Yeah, but it doesn't get headlines.
No,
the golden mean does not get headlines.
Well, that's interesting. And so what? I mean, does that mean we all have to go?
No, you have to be panic porn or I
don't think so. I think people are sick of it. I think they are sick of it.
Yeah, they are. But it just doesn't get headlines.
Well, they're sick of it, but it still gets clicks and still makes money.
Does it? See, my thing is, why do we click on the headlines? We all look at them aversively.
Because the world's coming to an end, so we have to do it.
Yeah, but we all know it's bullshit. We all know. Jesus,
we don't. I mean,
what?
We don't know that it's bullshit because we don't know what is coming out of the White House now. We don't know what's going on. It's a different world. But as far as COVID goes, we've kind of had it with that.
Well, it's all kind of the same. Here's let's see.
There's a snowstorm coming in New York, and you think it would be the end of the fucking world. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and it's going to snow in New York.
I know. Oh my God. Yeah. It's never done that before.
But I actually watching that reporting. We watched our. Paulina's in the East right now, so we just talked to her, and we were watching the reporting, and I thought it's been pretty balanced. It's been relentless.
Oh, but they're like, don't drive, don't do this, be careful, go to the market,
think
get
about
the food, you're going to die.
We get that in this town if it's possibly going to rain. It might rain. Storm watch 3,000.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Can't drive in the rain. Californians are idiots.
Stacy, come on up here. Let's Stacy, the mom who loves jeans.
Sorry to all my Californians.
Hi, Jeans. Hi, Stacy. We don't hear you, and you're not muted. Okay. No, she's actually brought herself up to the podium. 2 days. Okay. Paulina just heard that the cat's going to get watched for 2 days. That's good.
That's perfect because they'll clear the streets.
It's also probably because of the snow. They're saying 2 days and not one.
No, that's what I wanted. Yeah. Good. Okay, good.
Good,
I feel
Paulina.
better.
Well done. Good. That we received that information as positive.
Yeah, that's good. I was hoping.
Well, hang on. Let's let Paulina give us an update.
You can go visit, but you just don't want to drive over there.
Paulina, want to give us an update?
So the vet just came in. Apparently, my vet did the heavy lifting in terms of deblocking his urinary tract and doing the X-ray.
Yeah.
But apparently now he's going to be prone to urinary blockages, so he's going to get an anxiety medication script, which will be good for flying.
I like that. There's Jack. We're putting Jack's picture
up. Yeah, I'm glad that he's here and he's going to be here for the next 2 days.
Did you ask him when he could fly?
I said I want to fly with him next week, and he said, okay, well, the anti-anxiety medication will help for that.
And then why don't you ask how this happened?
Yeah, it seems like stress. Stress, I think, is the primary
doesn't fit for me quite
perpetrator.
Right.
Okay, I'll ask dirty cat box.
I'm sure stress didn't help.
Probably dirty.
Yeah, but
urinary
and again,
infection.
we'll learn what that is, and he'll take antibiotics. And that'll be that.
Yeah, you haven't been around, so it's hard to know. It might have started
I've
like
been
a
gone for
couple.
42 days. My sober count is how long I've been gone.
Well, at least you know that. But you know what? Your health is
Well, when did I
lot
see
more
him?
important.
I saw him like 14 days ago, something like that.
That's true. And he seemed okay then, right?
Not okay. Perfect. Perfect. He was like unusually good.
Same old
frankly.
asshole he used to be.
Yeah, he was not the same
He's
old
not an
asshole.
asshole.
I'm kidding.
Yeah. All right, I'm putting you back in the
No,
audience.
I'm
Well,
not.
we're
All
glad
right.
we're relieved to hear that it's just
Everyone's
this.
prayers worked.
Yeah,
Thank you
it's
for your
all
prayers.
good. This is all treatable stuff. So more nuisances ahead with Jack for sure. So okay. All right,
being a
Stacey,
pessimist,
go ahead.
Where's that optimism?
There you are, Stacey. What's up, James?
Can you hear me now?
We do.
Ah, okay. No, I was going to talk about what you were talking about, but before I do that, I'm a cat lover, and I just shipped 3 cats overseas. Well, not overseas, but to somewhere, and they gave them gabapentin, and that put them to sleep.
Nice, good.
And they were like so stressed out.
Susan asked for
really
gabapentin.
No, Paulina.
Yeah.
I mean, Paulina asked for gabapentin.
Gabapentin.
You can text her gabapentin, GABAPENTIN.
Yeah.
Or Neurontin, whatever you want to call it. You know.
Is that what that is? Neurontin?
Yeah, same thing.
Oh, yeah. Maybe that's.
So what's up,
they gave
Stacey?
it.
What's going on?
Anyway, so I was going to talk about. I already forgot about it. Yeah, sorry. No, because I'm thinking about cats. I'm so sad about Paulina's cat.
Look, I'm not, because he's going to be fine. He's going to have some nuisances.
He will.
But it gets scary when you don't know. That's all. So.
Yeah, and I'm just a cat lover. I'm a crazy cat lady. But anyway, so about this culture of like freaking out about everything. Already, your wife made a point about, and I already forgot now because I'm so focused on your daughter's cat.
It'll come back to you. Want me to put you
I love that you like my point.
No.
That's so nice.
No. It's coming. I just wanted to say about, okay. You mentioned Trump and people were freaking out about Trump.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but some people have a reason to freak out about like certain things.
Okay. Like what?
You know?
Yeah. Good.
Like, racism.
Yes. We should always be hyper vigilant and freaked out about that. Yes. That's reasonable.
Yeah. And so I see it here where I am right now. I see the distress, and it's like, man, that's valid. It's valid.
Where are you now?
In Puerto Rico. And we've had a power problem on our street for 6 months, according to the neighbors. And I came 3 weeks ago, went to the power company 2 days ago, and they put in 3 new transformers today.
Nice. Well done.
How's your daughter doing?
Yeah, your
Weren't
daughter.
you on
But that's a problem.
Well,
that's a problem.
She was facing the racism, right?
No, she was facing the fear of it.
Fear of it. Okay, got it.
Just the fear of it.
Mm-hmm.
But not the actual. And she's learning Spanish. She's doing actually amazing.
Good.
She's super happy. Everyone's welcoming to us. Don't get me wrong.
I told you. Did I tell you?
Let me just say, there's a book written back in the 50s called Contact, and nobody has really improved on that hypothesis, which is that if where racism emerges, contact dissolves it. So your daughter making contact, being friends, being a human with the other humans, the racism goes away. Contact makes
it doesn't even exist in the beginning sometimes.
Well, it doesn't mean whether it is or it isn't, or it's implicit or whatever. Contact is what a first ingredient. It doesn't get rid of the institutional stuff that we worry about, but it gets rid of the explicit stuff that one individual might have to be dealing with.
Because she sees, she hears people talking about Mexicans and this and that, and so she like is reversing it in her mind, thinking, oh, they're gonna think the same way here that people talk about.
She's going to learn.
You get what I'm saying?
She's going to learn that intra-ethnic racism and what should we call it? It's not really hate. I guess it's hatred. Is worse many times than interracial. In other words, amongst Hispanic, I mean, Nicaraguans, the El Salvadorians, they all have opinions about Costa Rica. It's like, and if you go to Asian cultures,
I was going to say Asians. Yeah.
Ali
There's a
Wong,
hierarchy.
Ali Wong has a great piece on this. She goes, look, I forget what the exact ethnicities were like. She goes, look,
I've heard it.
She goes, I'm Vietnamese and Chinese. My husband is Japanese and I forget what what the other one was.
Korean.
No. She goes, and
Japanese
she goes, which is great because we spend all our time shitting on Koreans.
Vietnamese.
And Vietnamese and Japanese. Again, we spend all our time shitting on Koreans, and I thought, wow, that's amazing, and that's true. That's what people do. And again, we need to fight against it. That's another one of our biases. That's one of the glitches in our system. We have to be aware of it and fight it because it came from the environment of evolutionary adaptiveness and has no utility today. In fact, it's destructive.
Absolutely none.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Only
none.
destruction.
It's extremely destructive.
Yeah, that's it.
It is not helpful in any way, in any shape or form. And even Bobby Lee and Kalila talk about it. Yeah, like it's the same. It's between all cultures. It doesn't matter. Anyway, okay. But I was just going to say, there's a reason why people are afraid, but it is still very irrational.
Yeah.
But rational in a way. That was my point, is that, there's a reason.
Well, but you're back to our point is that the optimism and pessimism, we need both wings of the eagle. We need both sides of the coin, right? We need people that are a little bit heedless to go out and take risk, and we need people that hang back and don't take risk. And we need to get that balance right for a given circumstance. The problem that I think is that there are two excesses that have been going on in our recent situation, which is people trying to destroy people with a optimism bias because they're dangerous and they don't care. That's what the value judgment would say. And the pessimism people are so fearful and are so prone to controlling that they're harming people terribly. And so that's a problem. That's a problem. We got to get the balance right.
Can I say one thing before I go? Because I know I've talked too long.
Please.
But that is so very true, because I wanted to go to the power company to fix. I mean, this is stupid, but still, our problem. And the neighbors were all like, no, we called. Don't go. Like, we already dealt with it. We called. We've been waiting forever. And I was like, you know what? I can't just sit here and wait. Like, we have to go, and like FEMA is involved. So we can, like, come on. We can just go show up.
It's kind of a cultural thing, it sounds like.
It's a fear of showing. Like they don't want to complain.
Yeah, they don't want to complain. Right, exactly. And that is that agreeableness thing that Eric and I were talking about. Well, keep being disagreeable, Stacey. Keep being.
Yeah, exactly. But quietly disagreeable. I didn't tell them I went.
So I wonder if it's more cultural to like go, okay, we'll wait, or just sort of
probably.
What is their?
They're just used to it.
Yeah.
They're just used to it.
Maybe
money can't solve everything.
But maybe it's learned helplessness. Maybe they've been beaten into it.
Is it more of a left wing?
No.
No, they've been beaten into it. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Learned helplessness. That's not good.
Exactamundo.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
All right, my dear. Keep the jeans high and tight.
I wonder if they have a lot of Cubans.
They're coming up in May.
I wonder if they have a lot of Cubans.
You better believe I'll be coming up in May. Okay, Stacey. Thanks.
Wait, before she goes. Wait. Before you go, I have a question.
Okay.
Do they have a lot of Cubans in
Costa Rica, Puerto Rico?
In Puerto Rico. I'm in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So no, but Dominicans kind of show up on boats.
Yeah. So it's more. Yeah. So they came from more of a socialist background, maybe, or just sort of learned helplessness thing. I'm just wondering, like, how
it's a learned helplessness.
Puerto Rico's had bureaucratic problems, a lot of them, for a long time.
Yeah. They've been very corrupt, just like in the U.S. Yeah. But it is a serious problem. A serious problem. So if anyone wants to,
well,
we got to do it. Anyway,
so keep jeans high and tight, and look forward to more Susan coming up on After Dark. We're going to fly to Austin on Sunday. I'm going to pull her up there and see what kind of embarrassment she can perpetrate.
I thought I got out of that.
I can't wait to hear if you ended up going to the club.
Oh, you haven't heard that one yet. That one's coming. That one we recorded that one already.
Oh my God. So. Annie and Native are like my favorite.
Aren't they adorable?
The best.
Okay. Anyway. Okay. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Talk to you. Let's see. BB, Caleb responded, and BB, what podcast are you looking for? I didn't quite see.
She was looking for
I
Dr.
guess you were
Ben
asking-
Carson. She wanted to know if Dr. Ben Carson could be on the show, and I told her we had him on last year. It was a great one.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was on. Just
Yeah.
Google Dr.
It's-
Drew, Ben Carson.
It's not a podcast
Ask
so
Dr.
much.
Drew.
It's
No, it was Ask Dr. Drew. It was
yeah,
live
Live
stream.
stream, and
It's also in
he's
the
lovely.
podcast, too.
Yeah, it's podcast form, I guess. But he's such a lovely man. And guys have, you don't. This is when people take aim at like Mehmet Oz. When people criticize Mehmet and Ben Carson, these guys, you don't understand how far.
It's like not liking Santa Claus.
Well, to become the chairman of the Department of Cardiothoracic Surgery at Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, that is reserved for the rarest of types, the rarest of air, the top of the heap. To be the pediatric neurosurgeon, it's not just a neurosurgeon, it's going a pediatric fellowship, and then being the head of pediatrics at a major teaching institution. These are people, only the very best can even think about striving for those positions. So there needs to be a certain amount of deference to talking about those two guys. You can go totally disagree with their politics. I have no problem with that. But to talk to them about attacking either of them, their personhood, no, you can't do that. You just don't get to do that. All right, we're going to take a little break. And do you find before we go, Susan, the Ben Carson episode?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I'll find it.
All right, we'll take a little break. We will be back with your calls. Stand by. Since the beginning of the pandemic, nearly 1 in 5 Americans has reported consuming an unhealthy amount of alcohol. Could be you, but only 10% of them are actually getting the help they need. Reframe is a neuroscience-based smartphone app that helps users cut back or quit drinking alcohol altogether. Using evidence-based tools, techniques, and content, Reframe guides users through a personalized program to help them reach their goals. Comprised of daily tasks, a comprehensive toolkit, a community forum, and accountability guides, Reframe is a modern, accessible, and affordable resource that can help anyone looking to reevaluate their relationship with alcohol. Reframe is backed by Harvard University and Emory University Schools of Medicine, and it is ranked the #1 alcohol reduction smartphone app worldwide with over 350,000 downloads. With Reframe, there's no stigma, just science, no labels, just support. To learn more, go to joinreframeapp.com/Dr. Drew. Use the code Dr. Drew for 25% off your first month or your annual subscription. That's at joinreframeapp.com/Dr. Drew. Let's talk about our friends at Hydralyte. I can't say enough about Hydralyte. You hear me talk about them all the time. It gets me through workouts and medical procedures and colonoscopies and COVID. It absolutely contributed to my recovery from COVID. Hydration is key to feeling healthy, and there's never been a time when that could be more important. We're in the height of cold, flu season. Every headache has got you testing for COVID. Staying hydrated can keep the questionable symptoms at bay, and there's nothing better than Hydralyte to get it done. Taking their hydration formula one step further, now there is Hydralyte Plus Immunity. It starts with their fast-absorbing electrolytes and adds a host of great ingredients. Plus, each single-serve, easy-pour drink mix contains 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and 300 milligrams of elderberry extract. Hydralyte Plus Immunity comes in convenient, easy-pour powder sticks that rapidly dissolve in water to make a great-tasting drink that has a 75% less sugar than your typical sports drink. It uses all-natural flavors. It's gluten-free, dairy-free, caffeine-free, non-GMO, and even vegan. Hydralyte Plus Immunity is also now available in ready-to-drink bottles at the Walmart next to the pharmacy, or as always, you can find it by visiting hydralyte.com/Dr. Drew. That is HYDRALYTE.com/Dr. Drew. And be sure to use that code Dr. Drew 25 at checkout for a special discount. I got to get that mic on. Let's get right back to it. We got.
Sorry, I was talking to Paulina. She just told me how much it's going to cost.
I don't want to hear.
You can't take it with you, Drew.
Not anymore. That's for sure.
That cat better come here and make friends with my dogs.
Yeah.
I do love Jack. He is a cutie pie.
Let's get Anthony in here. This is a different Anthony, not our Anthony Brown. Anthony, what's going on?
Hey, Dr. Drew. I just wanted to touch base with you, kind of over COVID and kind of how we were talking yesterday on the podcast, where your guest Caitlin was talking about kind of the kids and how COVID is destroyed a lot of our younger generation. And what would your take be on reconnecting mental health services? Because I'm having issues trying to get those services implemented in schools. One of the issues I'm seeing, because she talked about, I guess, the demographic that would be the opposite of mine. Mine is the lower income. Mine is they're not interested in school because they have to
by the way,
survive.
those are the kids that are being affected most and predominantly by this whole phenomenon we've been through. I'm overwhelmed by even the thought, Anthony. I've thought about it a lot. We already had inadequate services going for these kids. My experience is they tend to send social workers in for this, and a lot of this now is psychiatric. So I don't know the answer. I guess the Department of Mental Health. What county do you work in?
Santa Barbara.
So at least it's a smaller county, kind of. And I would work with the Department of Mental Health. I mean, that's what's got to happen.
That's what we're trying to get into right now. It's one of the, because we're right now with our nonprofit, we're literally launching our youth programs and trying to get into schools to get reconnected so that the kids can have that interaction, have that connection. Everybody's disconnected. And one of the issues we are facing within, I guess, the actual population and not the bureaucracy part is these kids don't want to talk. That makes them a target. There's a bigger issue that I guess isn't being talked about at all.
What is that? Like, I'm not quite getting it.
When you put into the fact that these kids are not wanting to learn, there's no support there's no services. One thing we're forgetting, because I come from that background, I lived in a hotel when I was a kid. I lived in a car. I lived in parks because that's just how things were. We're in survival mode.
Yeah.
That's all we're looking for, is to survive.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the challenges that our nonprofit's facing, is these kids don't even want to talk to us now. That's how far we've gotten now, is because they're stuck in survival mode. The parents, it's the family cycling at its finest. We let this thing go so far, and it's part of my dissertation that I'm working on too. We can literally, within the Western civilization or culture, we can trace back the fall of our family systems to World War I.
Keep going. You're
sorry.
Yeah. Why World War I, particularly?
With what the research I'm looking at is because our military, our boys that went out to World War I, they came back with what we know as PTSD.
Yeah.
Back then, they didn't know what PTSD was. They had no categorizing of any of it. It was just, welcome back. You did your job. And then as we progressed.
Susan, I remember you came back from college once with a theory that World War II was because of that same phenomenon, that they came back from World War I with PTSD and beat their kids.
Defeated.
And also became violent.
Exactly.
And then they were looking for a leader, and then they just glommed on to the first guy that came along.
Well, not the first guy, the most extreme guy.
Yeah. And it's the parenting, where it's so many facets that I'm seeing as a psychotherapist here. It's the family cycling. How do we get parenting classes to these kids that are having kids? That's how broken the system is. If their kids aren't given the tools to thrive and succeed, they're automatically going to fail and then repeat the family cycle. They're going to end up in the relationships that mom and dad ended up, because we can't tell our kids what to do. Sorry, but that's not how it works. It's not, it's you show them, and we role model it as the parent or as the guardian. And that's how we learn. As a therapist, that's what I'm doing nine times out of 10 with my clients. This is how you role model, because I work with these. This is my designated population.
So let me tell you that I get what you're saying precisely. I get it. I have a little different function because I'm dealing with drug addicts with the same phenomenon from childhood, is trying to help build emotional regulation, because to the extent to which they're dysregulated, it drives using. And so
Yes.
my frame becomes not just the modeling, but just tolerating closeness. So they can tolerate being around another warm, not touching, but near a body that can help contain their emotions. Yep. Because they
Exactly.
have none of that.
And they're looking for that role model. And that's through our nonprofit. That's exactly kind of what, and we're taking gentle steps with it. It's who do we look to share their stories? Because I've sat on my own podcast and just sat and talked about what it's like growing up with a drug addict, alcoholic father, where you're constantly on the run. You're doing drug runs for them. This is the population that I directly work with, and this is the hard part of the job. Hearing your story told back to you.
Have you
That's the hardest.
have you had enough therapy yourself to not be overcome by some of that?
Yeah, right now. So with I suffer from complex post traumatic stress disorder,
Right, I'm
which
sure.
it's a little more intense.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So what I do is I've gotten into EMDR type of therapy,
Good.
and that's eye movement desensitization
Very
reprogramming.
good. Very good.
I'm really advocate of that modality of therapy. It just desensitizes you. I can give you an example of I had a death that I went through a couple years ago, and that's why it kind of reactivated all my trauma. I couldn't talk about that event. I couldn't think about it. And with the processing and the work, like treatment works, just like you said for our nonprofit, treatment works.
Yep.
If you want to change, we cannot.
Even if you don't want
change the
to,
world.
even if you don't want to, it can work.
Yeah.
I just get in the frame, get into the room. We can help you. That's what I've
Exactly.
always said. It's more effective if you're motivated, but we just let us get to you, and we can help. And
if you don't mind me,
yeah,
if
go ahead.
anybody is listening and you are legitimately suffering and you feel that you're alone, especially with the COVID and everything that's going on, we're getting hit left and right. Go to spreadhopelikefire.com. If you reach out to us, we get you connected to services. We can get you connected to low cost to no cost services if that is what you're looking for.
Let's leave it right there. That is doing something. Okay, my friend?
Thank you, Dr.
We're doing
Drew.
something. That's all we can do is do something.
They're out there. We had it in our own family. It takes over. COVID did it to everybody.
Correct, Anthony Brown? We can do something, right? Anthony?
Yes. Hey, how are you, Dr. Drew?
We're good. So doing something is something. We can do something. We can all do something, right?
Oh, heck yeah. Let's just put the capes on and be some crime fighters, man. This is easy.
I don't know about that, but we can do something. We can like Anthony just gave out his not-for-profit. He's got a profit in Santa Barbara. You have Brown Manor in Ohio. Do you want to give the information out?
Sure. Brown Manor is a place we're going to help transition homeless people figure out how to get off the street and stay off the street and go back and help other individuals. And our goal is to develop mindsets that's going to be more positive than negative. And we do that through a cognitive behavioral type format.
Good. Excellent. Does that made you call in?
No. What made me call in was I'm sitting here listening and I'm like, why is it that people fail to realize that the solution starts what's inside? You know?
Yeah, they can't get there. I know what you're saying is, especially in recovery, my God, it's such an important piece is to have, let me just say from my perspective, and you tell me if this sounds accurate. The reason moments of clarity are so motivating is they cut through denial and they force you to see yourself as you really are. And we don't normally do that. We have all sorts of biases and screens and denials and all kinds of things in the way. But when something really shitty happens to you, it cuts through, you get clarity. And if what you see in that moment needs to change, you change it. Because if it's bad, you will feel disgust. And when you feel disgust or that you're going to die, you move away. You move away from that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But what trips me out is we have this big old mass of people, I'm tripping about COVID, I'm tripping about politics. It's like, well, if you're disgusted about it, make a change.
I think people are caught in it right now. They feel they're helpless, because they're caught in the social media silos and the negativity on, on the news media. And I think they just feel caught and they're stuck in a vortex. Like, we're all behaving like the country's behaving like an alcoholic. Right?
Right. And I think, because I'm out here like everybody else, doing this reality thing. And what's really fascinating is, even though a mass of people are going bananas, as an individual, I don't have to. I choose to look at life through the windshield, not the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And even when people don't get it, I'm still cool with it, because, life has an expiration date, and we might as well just enjoy the moments as we go through. But I'd be contradicting myself if I say, well, I'm frustrated because people are frustrated, when I'm supposed to be at peace with people's frustration.
But you're showing empathy, and empathy is the diffusing agent. You're like, I understand that they have their own shit, their biases that are making them struggle. I'd like to understand it better rather than react to it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, and that's really fascinating, because I've been doing a bunch of studying lately, because my neurons are working.
Good.
And
thank goodness.
And I was reading something about the reason why a lot of people get confused is because when you look at it from a spiritual aspect, we see evolution or evolving cut and dry. A lot of us think that it's from primal to advanced, when it's actually, we're unfolding flowers, but we haven't seen a bloom because of our finite thinking.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah, and I thought that was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. All right, my friend, I got lots of calls I got to get to. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Okay, buddy.
Take it easy, Dr. Drew.
Bye. Tanya, I'm going to bring you up now.
These are great callers.
Yes, BB had a question before I bring. Well, I'll ask Tanya to come up. Don't talk yet, because BB had a question. What's the difference between shame and disgust? Shame. The really interesting thing is to distinguish, envy and jealousy and shame and disgust. These are very specific things. Shame is a deflating, an energy an energy that it's like a depressive energy, and the thought that goes with the shame energy is, I'm bad. I'm not guilt. I did something bad. Shame is, I am bad. I'm not lovable. People go, that's why my parents abandoned me. I should be ashamed because I'm an awful person. Usually goes back to being not sufficiently loved in childhood or traumatized in childhood. Those are the two sort of sources of that. While disgust is actually a much more primary emotion that starts with, frankly, taste and smell, right? Disgusting taste and smell. And it's a motivating emotion to make us move away from something dangerous, really, is what it is. And in shame, you can feel disgusted with yourself, but it's a much more powerful, visceral, closer to vomit, like nausea, than shame, which just is, no. Disgust is, I can't be around it, because if I'm around it, I'll throw up. It's inconsistent with me being near, which is why when we are disgusted with ourselves, we move away. We change it. Right, Tanya?
Hi.
Am I getting that? Am I getting it okay?
Sure. I don't know how much of a help I'll be right now. I after 2 years, the COVID got me. So and I'm currently positive.
She has shame.
Oh, no.
Somebody said Omicron is the one that gives you shame. The minute you get it, you're like, oh no,
plain
I
old
got
COVID.
it.
Plain old COVID. Well, you'll get well soon. I hope.
I hope you
you'll be
feel
fine.
better.
How long you been sick?
I'll be fine.
How long you been sick?
I tested positive on Wednesday. So it's been about almost a week.
Oh, was it last Wednesday, like a week and a half?
No, Wednesday this week, but I started having symptoms earlier.
Okay. So you should start to feel it's the one thing you'll notice about COVID in all its forms, it's relentless. It sticks around. It just sticks around.
I've come this far, so I'll be okay.
You're going to be fine.
I just wanted to chime in really quickly.
Yeah.
So earlier you were talking about social workers and the school setting and resources.
What I was saying, I hope I wasn't unclear about this. What I was saying was, we send a lot of social workers in situations where we need psychiatrists right now, particularly. And so your response was, we can take care of that, right?
I mean, we're doing the best we can. I'm in a public child welfare setting. I'm actually trying to get into the school-based setting, but that'll be probably later this year. But I wanted to come on really quickly just for residents in LA County. If you're experiencing any type of mental health situation, any kind of suicidal ideation, substance abuse, they can call the Department of Mental Health, the Access line. So that is, let me give the number really quickly.
Hang on, I think I have it up here on the thread. I want you to save your energy. I feel bad having you talk. Hold on, I'll find it. Shoot. Was it way up there?
No, I got it. Okay. So it's 800-854-7771. And particularly if you have Medi-Cal, you can request a mental health assessment, a screening, if you need any kind of crisis intervention. The other resource that I like to give clients in LA County is 211, and they're a little bit more broad. They can help with, housing, domestic violence services, anything like that. But
Great.
I just wanted to share that.
Oh no, I'm so
quickly.
glad. And thank you for the work.
Yeah.
You feel like where are we in this whole thing? We're getting better, we're getting worse, we're in the middle of it.
Well, I know that Supervisor Solis, she did, I think it was back in, December. I know that she had posted something about mental health being kind of a crisis right now, increase in loneliness, really a concern for the community. And so I believe the county is kind of focused right now with the Department of Mental Health, but I don't work for DMH, so I'm not really sure. But I know she did put out a motion on that. But
Go back to bed. Go back to bed.
Oh,
steam.
Don't feel shame. It's okay.
Hot showers, bed.
It's like
I did. I'm doing it all. I'm good. I'm gonna be fine.
I know
that keeps on giving.
COVID makes it hard to talk. It just does. It's just what part of it.
No, you poop out.
Yeah. It's just
or you start coughing. At least you don't have the cough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
I do, but I'm doing my best to manage. I wanted to tell you really quickly. I have your bobblehead. I'm waiting to take a picture, but I have a really good idea. So
okay, we'll wait for you.
It'll be out. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Tanya. Get better.
Thanks for mentioning.
Bye.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I swear. I remember Kat Tim said, there's a stigma with
having had
COVID. It's like getting herpes, But at least with herpes, you don't have to tell people unless you're having sex with them.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, Dr. Drew.
How are you, sir?
Good. How are you doing?
Excellent.
Well, this has all been really interesting, and I was going to talk about politics, but I think the mental health stuff is a little bit more interesting. I think we need a distraction from all the politics, frankly. But and maybe I'll tie it all back together. And I experienced deep depression and anxiety in my mid-20s, and I'll tell you, just as from a layman here, cognitive behavioral techniques is what got me out of it. No medications. It was all behavioral changes in my thoughts.
Well, let's think that's it's worth saying, which is that you can change your thinking, and that changes your feelings will follow. And a lot of mood disturbances is what's going on in your life, and in a way, those depressions are adaptive in the sense that they, again, much like disgust, force you to start to make change if you can. Where you can't function, that's when it's a medical problem. That's when it's different.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had gotten there in my life for various, behavioral aspects. I could barely get out of bed. I could barely go to work. But
Wow.
I was really the maker of my own demise, and eventually it just took strength and to sort of do the things that I needed to do to be a functioning human. And I that's where I discovered CBTs. So if anybody here's listening, CBTs is exactly how I got out of my anxiety, depression. I highly recommend it. So
Good for you. Well
yeah,
done.
that was just my experience. And then I think I wanted to get your thoughts on this, tying it into like the social aspect and the politics is, I think maybe society needs a little bit of a behavioral change.
Yeah.
We're so focused on politics all the time. It's like our entertainment. And I think it's kind of bled into sports and movies, and entertainment used to just be entertainment. Sports used to be just sports. And now, now it's in.
Let me say something. I'll say something
Yeah.
provocative. There's something we don't have anymore that is probably explaining why this other thing stepped in. We don't have religion anymore. And so politics has become the new religion. And I as much criticism as I could sort of level at certain, organized religion, I'd much rather have that than the current politics being the religion.
Yeah, it makes us. It makes life not about ourselves. You know what I mean? And I think you're exactly right there. Yep.
Well, thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
I think we need more Love Boat. I think we need to bring that back.
We do.
Let me
That's
explain
true.
why Dan says that. So Adam Crowley and I do a podcast, and somehow about a year ago, we started talking about the Love Boat TV series as sort of an anthropological time capsule. And we started watching it and analyzing it at least for a couple minutes every week. And really, Susan, you should be the one complaining about this because you get subjected to it. I have to watch it every week.
No, I like it. It's cute.
It's weird.
I know,
so
but it's funny
weird.
too.
But then we got to talk to
the misogyny is just ridiculous, but it's so funny. Like they're just so.
It's beyond. It's beyond.
They're so
to
bad.
me, now watch Love Boat and then watch the Hugh Hefner documentary, and you will see an association there. That is.
Well, I remember like when I was a model when I was younger, and I was like, how do those girls get that job walking around in bikinis? Because I was like, I had a group of bikini girls, and it's like yeah, they just like come through, and every once in a while somebody would be famous, or be a model you would see somewhere. But it was just so funny. I like admired that. Now I'm just looking at it like, oh, geez.
It's interesting. It's so interesting.
Really.
Yeah. But we should go watch the.
And then the bad acting is always funny too.
Well, and then you and I got to talk to Isaac.
Yes, we did.
Our friend
for a few minutes.
Fred Stoller is a friend of Isaac,
but he won't come on our show unless we pay him.
I know, the actual actor that played Isaac, and we talked to him a little bit about.
I bet we could. I wonder how Fred Stoller's doing.
He texts me all the time.
Yeah,
he's okay. He's making it through.
Taylor and I were watching Seinfeld for the first time in our lives, like together. That's been our show at night, and I see that name pop up. I'm like, wait, Fred Stoller. Oh, wait, he's a consulting producer on Seinfeld from back in the day.
And he was, I think he was a regular guest star of some type.
He was on there too.
He was on Everyone Loves Raymond all the time. He was the cousin or neighbor or something. And he wrote a book.
Ticket.
He wrote a book called Hopefully We'll Have You Back or something. Hopefully we'll have you back, because he was never hired. He was always just sort of moving through as a guest star.
Somebody just wrote Rip Tom Segura Dad.
Rip Tom Segura, R.I.P. Oh, shall we find out about that? Can somebody help me with that? Joshua, what do you know?
We're so worried about the cat all day.
Yeah.
I missed that.
I don't know how we would find out. That seems weird.
Ask Nadav.
Who is top dog? You guys got to help me.
Make sure we're not.
Yeah. Are we falling into your mom's house?
Yeah, I hope this is
word salad that we don't understand. The other platform we're on is called Your Mom's House. We do a show called After Dark, and it has its own.
Wait, did he already passed? Wait.
They have their own language there, and if you don't watch it, the language can confuse you.
He passed in late December.
Oh, okay.
If his dad is also named Tom, then it might. Yeah, I see an obituary.
Okay, he died a while ago. Okay, I did not know about that.
I wonder where that topic came up.
Why did we not know about that?
I don't know.
Yeah, boy.
Because we had COVID and we're in our own shit.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know.
Well, I think we ought to. I'm kind of running out of steam. I'm sorry, guys, because I've had this diverticulitis thing. It's been laying me out all week, and I did want to just chat with people today. And
I know you did a good job. I was really impressed.
Guys, good calls.
I like the topic.
Well, I don't want to end it
kind of brought me out of my
on that note.
A little bit.
Do you want to see a video? I have a video of Camden here. I'm gonna pull him up.
Okay.
Of him. It's a cute one. It's a cute one. You're gonna like.
Did I show him a couple of those pictures I sent on my kids too?
Elephant kisses.
Nothing better. Nothing better.
Oh man. Oh, he has that.
He has the best laugh ever. He loves it.
Did you?
I gotta find that video of Douglas when he was little, and I throw toys at him, and he just laughs like that for an hour, and then I draw back, and there was just a huge pile of toys
Stuffed
around him.
animals.
Oh God.
All right. Well,
but he
listen,
liked it when I hit him in the face.
we do have to make a
Hence the
pilgrimage
football later.
to Austin on Sunday. So we'll be back on Wednesday with Dr. Peter Hotez. This is a major conversation. He's a virologist I've admired from the beginning of all this. He has a new vaccine he's working on that's very interesting. We have, let's see, is there anybody else we should be? I don't know who the rest of the week is, but we'll be back Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Can you tell anybody about your?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
And not till I am instructed.
Nope.
Nope. Yeah.
Sorry, Drew. Tried to.
I have not seen Senator Ron Johnson hold a panel called COVID-19 Second Opinion, but I will look around for that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Danny. Go see Haven for Hope in San Antonio. Yes, Russ, that's a good idea. I know the former drug czar was a big leader at Haven. That's where help me, guys. The guy that came in here from the White House that was sort of the homeless czar.
No. He just texted me.
Yes, he just texted
Horbat.
No.
What's his name?
I'll look through your text really quick.
I know he wanted to come back on the show
because we could go see him. Well, I don't know if I have time to, but we should. When we go, one of these days, we have to go down there. Yes, Haven for Hope is a model for how to treat homelessness.
I'm scrolling down.
For sure.
It was a few
I'm
days
very
ago.
aware of their stuff.
10,000.
It is
Marbut.
Marbut.
Robert Marbut.
Marbut. Yes, Robert Marbut.
Yeah. So he texted me. He's in San Antonio, and he wants to come on the show.
Oh, maybe we'll say hi to him when we're down there. Maybe have dinner with him when we're down there. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Caleb, for producing. Thank you, Susan, for sitting there and putting up with my stuff. Thank you guys for calling on Clubhouse.
You did a great job today. I'm sorry I was such a bummer.
I'm going to spend the next day or so just resting to make my pilgrimage to Austin, Texas, for your mom's house, and we're going to have to get a hold of her. Christina's not been answering my calls. We got to find out what's going on down there. So
really,
yeah. She was in New York to film her Netflix special.
I know she never responds to me either.
You should be staying in our apartment.
No, we had people there.
All right, well,
it worked out.
Okay,
the cat lives there now.
Yeah, so. I know. So thank you for the prayers and the cat. Cat will be back on Sunday.
Next time she can go there.
All right.
When Tom does his special, he can. But we do have to reach out to them and give our condolences.
Our show is at 2:00 with Dr. Peter Hotez on.
It is?
Yeah.
Did we move it?
Yeah. February 2nd, 2:00. We will see you then.
I would imagine that would like screw you up. I would never.
I mean,
I'm scared of.
So what they
pills.
do?
All the different flavors of dick pills mixed into one.
I'm afraid that like I know if you do too much like antidepressant, anti-anxiety, that you could fuck up your brain.
Yes,
that's fine. I don't want to fuck up my dick. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause that's
like I said,
you don't come back from that shit. You know what I mean?
Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations